Hello viewers and welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Nachi Sinha and this is the third video of the emotional abuse series. In my previous videos we have already talked about what emotional abuse is, what are its common signs and how we can end it. In today's video I will walk you through how you can help people going through emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is very common. Many people around us are going through this abuse every single day and it is affecting their mental peace. If you're aware of emotional abuse signs, you can easily identify emotionally abusive relationships around you. It can be your friends, family member, or colleague going through emotional abuse, and sometimes they might not even understand that they're being controlled or manipulated in a relationship. In such situations, you must be there for them and help them out of the relationship. So, here are a few ways you can help emotional abuse victims. The first thing that you can do to the people going through emotional abuse is make them understand that they are being abused. As I've said plenty of times before, victims often do not understand emotional abuse. They are tricked into believing by their abusers that they are not good enough, and all the problems stem because of their fault. The victim's self-confidence is shaken and he believes what his abuser tells him. So, to help such people out of their relationships, you first have to make them understand that they are going through emotional abuse. Now, it may sound like a very easy thing to do, but trust me, it's not. The victim might not understand at first. Some might even defend their abusers by saying they are not at fault. It happens because of their mistakes. If such a situation arises, do not get agitated. Stay calm and patiently talk to victims. Explain to them the harmful effects of emotional abuse on their self-esteem, confidence, and mental health. If the victim has kids, explain how abuse will affect them. Do not expect to make them understand it in a day. It might take you many attempts to make them accept that they're being abused, but once they accept it, ask them to open up to you and share their feelings. Number 2, listen to them. Emotional abusers do not respect or listen to victims' ideas, thoughts, or opinions. They invalidate or mock the victim. Abusers also make their victims believe that they are inferior to them. Moreover, a classic sign of emotional abuse is that the abuser will isolate the victim. He will not allow the victim to see his friends or family. All of this becomes quite taxing for the victim. He feels helpless and alone. So, if your friend or family member comes to you and shares his feelings, just listen to them. Let them open up to you. Do not question them or give any sort of sarcastic remarks as will recoil and not share what's going on with them. Make them comfortable and let them share whatever they want. Do not press them for more information if they are not comfortable sharing. Similarly, do not defend or justify the actions of their abusers. They will never truly open up to you and remain trapped in their abusive relationship. You must also assure the victim that whatever they've shared is safe with you and you will not talk about it with anyone. The major reason why the victim stays silent is that he is afraid of what will happen if the abuser learns about it. This mere thought terrifies them and they choose silence over asking for help. So remember, if a victim comes to you or if you ask them to open up, just listen to them. No questions, judgments, suggestions or anything that can upset them. Moving on to the third way of helping emotional abuse victims, which is respect their wishes. Often, when we learn that a loved one is going through abuse, we become angry and want to take prompt action. But if the victim isn't comfortable with the idea of you meddling in with their relationship, don't do it. Do not make your friends and family members regret opening up to you. You can guide them about exiting the relationship, but never pressurize them. Be patient with them, but do not force them to try to take action on their behalf. The final decision of leaving the abuser or quitting the relationship should be 100% theirs without any force or coercion. There are many cases when the victim understands that he is being abused, but he doesn't have enough courage or means to end it. Hence, let them decide things for themselves. Be there for them, guide them, and take action only when they ask you. Also, do not talk about their abuse or problems with anyone else. This also includes shaming the abuser on online forums. You might do it to protect your loved one, but it can backfire and make the victim's life more miserable. So respect the boundaries and wishes of the victim, but at the same time, advise them to get out of the relationship. Tip number 4 to help people going through emotional abuse is remind them that it's not their fault. Many victims blame themselves for the abuse. They often say things like, "It was my fault that my partner got angry," or "If I'd done what they had told me to, he or she wouldn't have yelled at me." If a victim blames himself for the abuse, remind them that it was never their fault. Help them to get over the blame and guilt. The constant belittling by the abuser makes the victim believe that he is responsible for the abuser's actions. Explain to the victim that it's never their fault. The abuser plays the game to set himself free of any accountability and continues controlling the victim. You will need to give constant reminders to the victim before they stop blaming themselves. Moving on to tip number 5 for helping emotional abuse victims, which is help them devise a safety plan. When the victim finally decides to leave the abuser, help them plan things out. If the victim wants to leave instantly, explain why they should not take drastic measures without proper planning, because the victim might act impulsively and exit the relationship. The financial pressure will overwhelm them, and this will leave them with no other option than to go back to their abusers. I'm sure you know how their abusers will treat them after such a huge step by the victim. Sit with them and discuss the plan before executing it. Ask the victim if he has any place to live and a stable job to provide for them. If the victim has parents, friends or siblings that he can live with, contact them and explain the situation. Also ask the victim their plan for their kids, how he will support the kids and explain what's going on, etc. Once you've studied all the important details, help them make a plan to end the relationship. And once they leave their abusers and put an end to abuse, do not forget about them. Instead, make sure you try to support them financially. If the victim is a minor or someone who doesn't have a job to support themselves, you must help them with financial matters. You can open up a bank account in their name and deposit a fund so that they can take care of themselves for a few weeks. You can also ask your other friends to pool money to support the victim, plus many NGOs and social service groups provide financial aid to the victims. You can search those social groups and connect with the victim with them. If the victim is not supported financially, he will return to his abuser, so that the abuser can take care of their financial needs. Hence, setting financial matters straight for the victim is extremely important. If you cannot give them money, help them find a job. Ask your network, friends and family if they know of any vacancy or job openings. When the victim earns for himself and is not dependent on anyone, he gains confidence. Furthermore, he will never think of going back to his abuser because of his financial problems. The 7th step to help emotional abuse victims is to encourage them to seek therapy. Emotional abuse is difficult for people. It alters their personality and adversely affects their mental health. Emotional abuse makes the victim doubt himself and his abilities. The constant critique, invalidation and bullying crush their confidence and makes them afraid of their abuser. Prolonged emotional abuse often leads to depression, and the victim cannot decide for himself. He leaves himself at the mercy of his abuser. If the victim came out of a severely abusive relationship and is not in the right mental state, encourage them to take professional help. Explain to them that there is no problem going to a therapist and soothe your mental peace. Taking timely professional support will help them overcome their trauma, anxiety and depression. It will also help the victim let go of his past and move forward. Remind them that you are there for them. Emotional abuse makes the victim think he is not good enough. He has flaws and shortcomings and he is not capable of making someone happy. Even when a person ends an abusive relationship, the harsh remarks of the abuser always stay with them. And subconsciously, the victim believes his abuser that he is not good enough and not worthy of love and respect. Thus, you must be there for him. Talk to him with respect and love, and make them understand that they are worthy of all the love and happiness in the world. Talk to the victim about his strengths to face the abuse and stand against it. Also, remind him about their past achievements, qualities, and how wonderful they are. Being there for victims, making them happy, and simply talking to them will speed up their healing process. Motivate them to move forward. There are lots of cases where the victim doesn't enjoy his life. His mind is stuck to the past, bitter experiences that stop him from moving ahead. As a friend or family member, you can support the victim and slowly encourage them to live their life to the fullest. Start by encouraging them to do what they enjoy. For instance, if the victim loves reading, you can bring them their favorite books, or take them to their favorite bookstore, etc. By making the victim do things he loves, he will slowly and gradually move forward in his life. Plus, by keeping him busy with all the stuff he's passionate about, he won't have spare time to think about his past or how things could have turned out if he hadn't left. All these tips that I've shared with will definitely help the victim. One important thing that you must keep in mind is that helping the victim once or twice will not pull them out of their problems and grieves. It is a constant process, and you have to be there all the time with them. It is heart-wrenching to see your loved ones go through emotional abuse. The best we can do for them is understand them and be there for them. I'd like to share one piece of advice here. Never interfere in a victim's relationship. Let them take the final decision. You can guide and make them understand the abuse, but please don't force them to take quick action or leave their partners instantly. In my next video of the emotional abuse series, I will talk about the effects of emotional abuse on the victim. A lot of people have a misconception that only physical abuse hurts, but that's not the case. If you want to learn how emotional abuse hurts, wait for my next video. Subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload my next video. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.